Welcome, everyone, to our branding class. Now, if you've taken a class from me in person, you know that I like to have a lot of engagement and interaction, and I ask a lot of questions and prompt some discussion. And it's going to be the same in this class, even though we're on Zoom. So, we're going to try to dig into some branding things. What we're going to talk about today is your target market, which is basically like what your brand is centered around. If you don't know what your target market is, it's really difficult to develop a brand that's going to attract um, the customer, the client that is the best match for you. And so we're going to talk quite a bit about that. We're going to talk about your brand identity, which is like all the bits and pieces of branding, like colors and fonts and logos, and what are some best practices across all of those topics. We're going to talk about your collateral, which is all the places where your brand lives, like your website and your business cards and your social media pages and flyers and all of that. And then we're also going to talk about compliance. So when it comes to marketing and branding, what compliance items do you need to be aware of? Okay, so I'm no cheating. Hey, what is branding? You can either, well, I'd just love if you just spoke up. I'm not going to lean on the chat as much as I might in other classes. So in your mind, what is branding? Go ahead, you can just speak up or you can raise your hand if you want. There should be a little raise hand button at the bottom of your Zoom screen.
What your appearance is in the public.
Love it. Okay, appearance in the public. Great. Okay, what else?
What I'm looking for is like my logo and my colors and my fonts that I'm going to use on all of my marketing, so it's all
Yes.
consistent.
Yes, like this consistent look that represents you.
Hmm.
Awesome. Okay, other thoughts or ideas?
I think it also should be, what do I want people to think when they see
Mhm.
my brand? Uh,
Mhm.
Something positive, something negative, etc.
That is something I'm really glad you brought that up, because your brand does elicit an emotional response, right? Like, and this is what we're talking about. Like, what does it make you think, or how does it make you feel when you see this brand? And in some ways, we're going to get into some nitty gritty today, and just to help build like a big picture of branding. But ultimately, this is what our goal is, right? Is to make a connection with people and build trust so that we can do business with them. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate that. Any other thoughts?
Being recognizable.
Yes, yes, being recognizable, right? You want someone to see your brand or your logo or whatever it is and say, "Oh, that looks familiar. I know what that is." Thank you. Okay, so a description of branding. It could go a lot of ways, but it's the process of creating a distinct identity for your business in the mind of your target audience. Engaging with your target audience to build recognition, trust, loyalty, and preference through a strong emotional connection. And so that was kind of like a compilation of what all of you shared, right? So it is that consistency in logos, fonts, colors, all of that, something that makes sense. It's something that works for your target audience, right? And it is there to build trust and to get like a response from people, right? And usually that's going to come back to an emotional connection of some kind. Um, awesome. Okay, any questions on this before we move on? All right. Okay, let's talk about businesses. So I want you to put in the chat. See, I am going to use the chat. I lied a minute ago. I want you to put in the chat a business that you are like, you're a customer for life. Like there is some reason why, like, if you're going to buy laundry detergent, it's going to be Tide every time. If Fred Meyer was out of Tide, you would go down the street to another store and buy it. Okay, think of a business that you are loyal to, that you trust, and I want you to put that business name in the chat. Okay, I see them coming in. Apple, John Deere, see another Apple, Costco, Costco. Keep them coming. Amsoil, Stinker, HP, Premier Heating and Air, Amazon. Okay, I know there's a few more of you out there. Maverick, Chevron. Okay. I am going to pick on a couple of you. Who am I going to pick on? Probably someone I know. Sorry. Okay, let's talk about John Espinoza. Yep, you knew this was coming. Let's talk about Costco. Tell me about Costco. Why do you love Costco? And if you're talking, you might be muted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep, there you are.
First of all, it's 2 blocks from my house.
Okay, love that. We must be neighbors.
Yeah. I like bulkiness. You go there and get a lot in bulk, big,
Okay,
and I like their tools, their furniture, their electronics. It's a one-stop, get everything. So
okay.
I like that about them.
When you're talking about the products, are you referring to just the variety of products, or is it also the quality of the products?
I'd say both.
Okay, okay. So it sounds like convenience, quality, variety makes your life easier.
Yes, although it gets a little expensive.
I mean, that every store these days. Okay, so talk to me about why that matters to you. Why does it matter to you that you have somewhere that you can go that is convenient, quality, and has variety?
I think these days time is everything, right?
Okay, yeah. I mean, especially as a real estate agent, right? You guys are wearing 400 hats trying to do all the things.
Yeah.
Okay, time is everything. Why, why is that important to you? Like, why is your time so valued?
Because it's a busy life.
Mhm. And what is it, if you're not spending your time at Costco, what are other important things that you're using your time for?
Real estate, 24/7.
But I know that that's not all for you, John.
No, I like the products at Costco, and I like can get in there and get out of there fast, and just even have a place to stop and eat if you wanted to. And
Yeah, true.
I've just always liked their products. It's a clean place, and
Mhm.
like I said, convenience. It's just down the street. It used to be the only Costco back in the day was Boise, and that was about a 25-minute drive from my house. So
Mm.
we go there maybe once a month or whatever, but now it's just right down the street. So convenience.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we're looking at these businesses that we really value, I want to push you guys to get a little bit deeper into why that is. And so even in this brief conversation with John, we can understand that time is really important to John and quality is really important. And the convenience and the variety at Costco speaks to that time piece, right? Because he's got other important things in his life, like real estate, like family, um, faith, whatever it might be, right? Okay, let's talk to, we're gonna do one more. Amy, Amy Brown, let's talk about Maverick or Chevron.
Okay.
Okay, so tell me, what is it about Maverick, Chevron that's important to you?
It's a family thing. When everybody wants to stop for snacks, they want to go to Maverick. It's the stuff they have inside.
Okay,
Road
so
trips.
road trips.
Actually, there's a brand new one here in Middleton. And so I
That's
actually went there today to check it out.
that's so great. Okay, so if you had Maverick on one corner and you had another gas station, we don't need to pick on anyone, Jackson's, say, on the other corner, why would you choose Maverick over Jackson's?
They seem to, well, again, this is all like family around me who gives
Mhm.
me these things. It tells me we have to go to Maverick, right?
Uh-huh.
I think it's like a food option. They
Okay.
just have better food inside, cinnamon rolls and stuff. I don't know. Things like that.
So,
New, clean.
okay. So this sounds to me a lot like customer experience.
Yeah.
Like the experience that you have when you're in one convenience store over another. There's more variety. Yeah, it's newer. I mean, I have a Maverick right by my house, and like, the ceilings are taller and the lighting is different. Um, and it sounds like your family maybe prefers that type of experience.
Right.
Um, what do you think it is about that experience that makes them want that or makes them feel special?
I know, right? Because really, when you look inside, it's kind of the same old stuff as convenience stores,
Right.
right?
We can get a Butterfinger at any old, you know,
Right.
convenience store.
I think it's because it is the branding. They really do make it the appearance of it being the outdoor, here's your picture of your four-wheelers, your trucks, your dirt bikes, and we're gonna go out and have some fun inside. That's the way it looks, right? It just looks like an outdoorsy place, and I think that the guys love it.
Yeah, it speaks to a lifestyle that works
Mhm.
for them. And I love that you mentioned the branding piece because that's what this is all about. Like these businesses, every single one of them that are listed in the chat, like they all know what they're doing, right? They know who their target audience is and they're speaking to them, right? Like in the Maverick example with the visual or auditory experience when you walk into the store, the types of food or products or delicious cinnamon rolls that are being offered, or the pictures of the outdoorsy lifestyle, they know who their demographic is, and that is who they're talking to. Like, these people who may have similar interests or outdoorsy lifestyle, or they want that adventure, or that's alluring to them, and it's working because you'll stop there every time. So the goal in talking about this is starting to think about this from your business, right? Who is your target customer, and how are you creating that experience for them that they want to just come back again and again and again? John, if Sam's Club opened up across the street from Costco, you might go and check it out because you're curious, but you'd probably just keep on going to Costco because they meet all of your needs. Like you are their target customer. They've proven it, right? Because you keep on showing up. I mean, it's the same for all of you. I want to help you guys think about your brand in a way that is really centered around client experience. Yes, it's logos and fonts and colors, but it's bigger than that. It's that emotional connection piece to your target customer. John, Costco is selling you time. That is what they're giving you, is time, because you're not running around to every store in town trying to find the products that you want that are the quality expectation and the variety that you're looking for. And Amy, they're selling you lifestyle. They're selling you experience. Like I'd never say, gosh, there's a certain lifestyle I want, so I'm probably going to go buy that at Maverick. Like that's not at all what's in my mind, but that's what's actually happening, right? Like who am I based on shopping at this store? So how are we building that with our clients, right? What does it say about them that they're engaging with your brand again and again? What type of experience are you delivering to them? Okay, any thoughts on this little business reflection?
I think the only thing that I might add to this is I think one of the things that I try to think about is where am I with the target audience? Am I thinking about a new customer, an existing customer, or one that I want to repeat purchase from? And so I think the content that I provide and maybe the message in my brand needs to make sure that it's speaking to those. I try to break them down into like 4 areas, like, are they aware of me if it's a new customer? The second is around consideration, right? So are they considering me from all of the other real estate organizations that are out there? And
Yeah.
then the next area is around preference. So would they prefer to use me versus somebody else? And why would they do that, right? What is it that I've offered? And if I've done a good job, then they're going to repeat purchase from me. And that's really the key, because then it's just, ongoing legacy business.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's really nice to hear from your guys' perspectives because, everyone comes with such varied experience and knowledge. So thank you, Steve, for sharing that. I appreciate that. Any other thoughts or maybe even any questions at this stage? Okay, we are going to talk about our target market, and we're going to dig into the target market just a little bit. So I'm going to review this and then we'll pull up our handout, and I'll put it on the screen here and we can talk through your target market to help you get some clarity on how to frame your brand and your messaging to match that. So target market. A little bit of background about me. I realized I just jumped right on into this class. I didn't even say who I was. So welcome. So my name is Kristin Cole. I am the operations manager and agent director at Silver Creek Realty. And I have a background in business and my education is in business. My husband and I own an event company in Boise that we ran together for more than 10 years. Basically 2009 to 2020, we ran full time together. Before that and during that and after that, I've been involved in real estate in one way or another. So a lot of my marketing and branding experiences comes from starting a company from nothing and building it into, a great company that still runs and operates today. I stepped away in 2020 to take this role, but my husband runs our company now. So when I would sit with our team at our event company and we would talk about our target audience, we knew everything about her. Did you hear that? Her right away. She is a bride because we're a DJ company that DJ mostly weddings, and we know her name and her age range and her education level and her income and her how long she's been engaged and how long she dated her fiance, and we know a lot about her, and that helps us craft a message specifically for her. Now in real estate it's a little bit different because pretty much all of those things that I just mentioned that I know about my target audience at my event company are topics we're not going to touch as real estate agents because of fair housing, right? And so we want to frame our target market in a little bit of a different way. And we're going to focus more on property type or property needs. So tell me, first of all, from your experience as a real estate agent, is there a type of property or a real estate, niche market or something that you've worked within that it just fuels you, that is so fulfilling that you love? Like maybe like you're like, if I could just work with a first-time home buyer every transaction and walk them through that process, that would be amazing. Or maybe it's investors, right? Like I know and love investors and I can really dial into that property type or that need. So what is it for you guys? Feel free to share. And it's okay if you have more than one. We're going to kind of talk about this as a one, but clearly, like if you're working, you primarily work with investors, but you have someone who's purchasing a home or selling a home that's not investment related and they call you, you're clearly not telling them no, right? Like, oh, I only work with investors. Not at all, right? But what's that one that you just love? Tamby says in the chat, first time home buyers. Melissa also new buyers. What others? And you can feel free to share out loud or in the chat.
I've been working a lot lately with people that are upgrading, like I help them first time home buyers and now I'm helping them as like they have kids now and they need more space. And that's been really fulfilling, is seeing them grow.
That's awesome. Yes, thank you so much, Blair. Diego, first-time home buyers. Liz loves being on the listing side, especially new homes, new construction. This is all great. So as we work through this next piece, I really want you guys to think about, like, if you could have one transaction again and again and again, what would it be? I have an agent that I talk to pretty often, and she works a lot with people who are downsizing and often into like assisted care. And she's got a really special skill set to work within this, and lots of good connections to support her clients in that. And it's tough work, right? Just like you could say working with first-time homebuyers can be tough work, right? It's a lot of hand holding and education, and but you find that you're really drawn to one of these, perhaps. Tammy says she loves doing estates. Eric, industrial owners, investors, developmental land sales. Yes, all of this. Great. Okay, so the first thing we do when we're talking about our target market is we think about this from a property type point of view. Because we're not going to talk about familial status and income levels and race, gender, religion, none of that, right? So we're just setting all of that aside and really thinking about the property type. From there, we're going to ask the question, what messages or designs or aesthetics would appeal to this property, client that needs this type of property? And, we might not always get exact, but we can ask questions like, okay, if I'm working with people who are downsizing and going into assisted care, what is my communication style going to be with these clients? What types of information are they going to need? What design styles or fonts, is it a fancy flourishy font? And we'll talk more about fonts in a bit here, but what is their preference going to be? And then, and with that, then needs, what services, communication style, and intention are they going to need? Certainly, if you're working with an investor client, that's going to feel a lot different than a first-time home buyer, where an investor is going to want facts and figures and numbers and cap rates and return on investment. And the first-time home buyer is going to need lots of nurturing and lots of education and lots of TLC, right, from start to finish. So your communication style is going to be quite a bit different. How you're, putting your messages out into your marketing is going to be different. Okay, so if you have the handout, we are going to go to, nope. Oh no, where did it go? Okay, there is a target market. I'm just going to pull this up in another screen really quick. There's a target market portion. Oh yeah, Amy, you're holding it up. Thank you. I saw it in the handout. There's a target market. So we're going to talk through these items. Give me just 2 seconds here to pull this up. Business brand handout. Oh, and what I'm going to do. Okay. Can you guys see this on my screen, target market worksheet? Is that what's showing? Okay, perfect. So if you have a piece of paper and a pencil, you don't have to have the handout necessarily. Take some notes. Okay, so what I want you guys to do first is I want you to first pick one property type or niche market. So those of you that are already mentioned something in the chat or shared with us, you can write that in here. That would be your investment property or your first-time home buyers. Another way you can look at this is by, location, kind of like either regionally or like sub-markets within your practice area. For example, those of you that are in the Boise area, the Boise Bench would be a good example of this. I remember an agent, gosh, I first got my real estate license in 2006. And during that time, he was a very well-known agent, and he was the Boise Bench realtor. Every bench, every sign, His signs were even branded that way. And he knew all the ins and outs of the Boise Bench, right? He knew about the property needs in those areas, the nuances with, property splits or infill development or, rentals versus owner occupied. Like he knew all the things and he knew all the people. And that was his target market. Like he was working really tight within that area. So you could also look at it in that way. Okay, does everyone have something written down? All right. Next, we want to ask, what are the needs and priorities of the person who is working with, needing this property type? So investors is a great way to frame this. So what does an investor need in an investment property? What would you guys say? Generally speaking.
A tenant in the building.
A tenant in a building. Yes. They need a rentable property, right? They need something that is going to pencil according to their investment strategy, as an example. A first-time home buyer, what would their needs be or priorities be?
I say directions.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, they're going to need guidance and direction through this. They're also going to need a property that fits within their budget, right?
Direction and connections. They need to be connected to
Direction.
lender,
Yep,
lenders. Yeah.
absolutely. Awesome. Okay, so you can make a couple notes there. All right, as we move on, and this is somewhat related, but what are the goals here? Well, the goal of a first-time home buyer would be to own a home, right? And it could be a bigger goal for them. It could be the beginning of their, financial well-being, right? Building their own financial well-being in the future. Goals of someone downsizing would be a place with lower maintenance, right? And less stress or obligation potentially. Goals of someone upsizing, more space, right? More ability for their needs and preferences, their lifestyle. So yeah, go ahead and based on this example that you're making for yourself, you can write goals here as well. I'm going to skip the brand appeal for just a second. We'll come back to that. But let's go next to the communication style and needs. So we kind of mentioned this a little bit already when we talked about the property needs. But what kind of communication style or needs is this potential client, is target market going to need? John, like you said, with first-time home buyers, direction and connection, right? They're going to need a lot of guidance, a lot of, time spent explaining the process and helping them feel comfortable, like they know what's going on. How would your investor react to communication like that? Probably not as well, right? I mean, maybe not every investor, but most investors, they're going to want the facts, the figures, the numbers. Can I get a tenant in this property? Is it going to fit within my investment strategy? What's my return, cap rate, all of those types of things. They're going to want more direct facts and figures versus a first-time home buyer. All right, what level of service, what type of service does this client need from you? So what are they going to expect? What are they hiring you to do? Because it is more, in most cases, it is more than locating a property that's on the MLS. Because as we know, our buyers, particularly in residential real estate, our buyers have access to lots of property search websites, right? And lots of information. While they might not have all the information there, they can get a pretty good head start. I'm guessing most of you have had buyers who messaged you and said, hey, this house just hit the market. Can we go see it? So no longer is there a real estate book at a real estate office that you have to actually go into the office and flip through the pages, right? The internet changed all of that. So what do they need from you? And that is going to vary based on your target market. I mean, I like using the first-time homebuyer versus the investor example because they're posed so in opposition to each other. But a first-time homebuyer, right? They're going to need those connections for their lender or their home care professionals, or they're going to need education, understand the process. They're going to need maybe some help strategy planning of how they're going to make their down payment. And while the lender can help with that, you know, we have conversations like that too, where an investor is going to need maybe some connections to off-market properties, or some connections for creative financing. They're going to need your expertise in putting deals together, maybe your negotiation strategies, to make a deal that's going to make sense. All right, popping back up to brand appeal. So here we're going to talk about, like, as we go through our different elements of branding, what styles are going to appeal to your target market. And you might not know that right off the top, and that's okay. But we're really thinking through branding elements. And so this will come together more as we continue on in the class today. And then lastly, the most important question: what is the emotional appeal that you're making to your client here? What is that emotional connection? What are they buying for you that isn't a house? Like John's buying time at Costco and Amy's buying lifestyle at Maverick. What are they buying from you?
Experience and negotiation.
Yes, love it. What else?
Peace of mind that it'll be a stress-free because you'll have someone professional representing you.
Yes, definitely. There's like this level of expertise, right, that you have in the home purchase or sale process that gives them peace of mind because they know they don't know everything, but they have a professional by their side really walking them through and watching out for them in the process. Any other thoughts?
They want to know that you're looking out for their best interest.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yes, yes. Back to that experience, right? That trust. I love it. Anyone else? All right. So as you're thinking about your target market, we kind of reflect back to this as we're looking at branding design style and how it matches. You know, like if you're trying to create a more nurturing environment for a first-time home buyer, you might choose certain colors for your branding or certain fonts that speak to that. Where if you're trying to create this relationship of experience and professionalism with an investor, you might choose more bold fonts and more, you know, stronger colors, or, you know, something like that. So yes, we will talk through that. Okay, any questions or thoughts on this?
Mm-mm.
Okay, perfect. Well, I'm going to come back to my slideshow here. Okay, let's talk about the different branding elements. And we're going to spend some time here. And then I'll touch base with you guys. So this class has a 10-minute break in the middle, and that's in about 10 minutes. So we can decide to like power through and end a little bit earlier, or to take a break and then extend for the full 2 hours. So I'll touch base with you guys in a few minutes and see what you think. Okay, let's talk about branding elements. So branding elements include, first, a business name. And we're going to talk about each of these in a little more detail. Second is a logo or a symbol, your typeface or font, your colors, your visual style, your tagline or slogan, and your voice or tone. So as we look at all of these can be framed in a way to speak to your target market. And that's how we really want to think about these as we go along. As for those of you that have the handout, there is in the handout pages that are a sample brand that's based on my company, Silver Creek Realty Group, company I work for. And then there is a blank template where you can also just take some notes and start to develop your own brand through this process. Okay, let's talk about business name first. So, most of the time, like if you're going to start a business, you're going to choose a business name that represents what you do, right? Like our events company, Soundwave Events. Okay, like it's pretty clear we do events. Okay, as a real estate agent, you kind of can go two ways with this. Most real estate agents work under your name as your business, right? Melissa McConnell, realtor, or the McConnell team, or something like that that's representative of your name, because it's interesting in real estate, you in a lot of ways are part of your brand, right? Like you're selling yourself and what you bring to the table for this client. Now, there are many companies, real estate agent businesses that have a formal business name, and that's totally great too. So Idaho's Best Real Estate, blah, 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 whatever it might be, okay? If you are going to work on a business under a business name that's not your name, some best practices. The first, choose something that is easy to spell, pronounce, and understand. One of our favorite pastimes, my husband and I, is to drive around town and criticize business signs. Maybe I'm not the only one, but you see a sign and you're like, why did they put yellow font on top of a red background? You can't read that, right? Like, or how do you even pronounce this name? And it could be that I'm not their target audience, and so it's not going to work for me anyway, which is fine. But I really encourage you to choose a business name that makes sense for what you do. And if your target market is investors, your business name might speak more to that versus if your target audience is, first-time home buyers or, resell, upgrading, the name could really vary. Like it could be, Idaho Investment Real Estate versus Idaho Home for You or something. So really consider that. Nivanya, yes, you have your hand raised.
I was just going to make a comment. Oh, if your name is really hard for everybody to say, like in my case,
Yeah.
99% of the time, people don't know my name and they get embarrassed of saying my name. So maybe I want to do a name of a company, right?
Absolutely. That's a really great consideration. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Okay, consider future growth. So when we first started our company, we were Soundwave Music because we were a DJ company. Then we started offering event lighting. So we were Soundwave Music and lighting design. And then we got some dance floors and photo booths. And we were like, wow, how long should our business name be? And then we rebranded to Soundwave Events. Okay. Changing your business name is one of the most painful things. It's like if you, as a real estate agent, if you have a real estate email address through a team or through a brokerage, and then you leave the team or the brokerage and you lose your email address and you have to start over, that is like what it feels like. So consider future growth. Having a very, very specific business name could limit you in the future or cause you to need to do a rebrand in the future, which is just, it's doable. It's just a little painful. Most real estate agents typically won't have a business that they're going to sell in the future, but it's possible, especially if you have multiple avenues within real estate that you work in. And so in this case, having a business name without your name in it can be easier to pass on to someone else in the future without a rebrand. Like if our event company was Adam's DJ Company, right? Like that would be really hard for us to ever sell in the future because we would have to find a buyer named Adam or, something like that. So consider future growth. You always want to follow NAR guidelines. And this is specifically talking about when you're using the word realtor. In the handout, there is a whole page that NAR has a whole page on how you can and can't use realtor. It also includes the way to make the reserved R with the circle at the end of realtor from your keyboard, the special keys that you push. So you can check that out. Little helpful thing. Okay, when you are considering a business name, it is really important that you search for other business names similar or the same to avoid pain for yourself. There are a few places that you want to check. I would encourage you to start with the Secretary of State and see if your business name is reserved. You can do a business name search on the Secretary of State website and search your business name or variations of it and see if someone else has an LLC or a DBA or a corporation reserved in that name. If so, it would be likely in your best interest. I'm not an attorney, so always, like, if you get down this rabbit hole, get some legal professional advice. It would likely be in your best interest to choose a different name. Another place that would be really great to check is the National Trademark Registry, federal. I have an agent who has a trademark on a couple of different names, and he doesn't practice under all of those names, but they are still trademarked. And we actually had a situation a few weeks ago where another agent is using one of his trademarked names. And that just isn't fun to deal with. It's never fun to get a call from another agent that says, hey, I've got that name trademarked. You can't use that. Change all your branding. And then this isn't what happened. But if that agent then says, prove it, I'm not doing anything, and then you get to send a cease and desist from your attorney, like, no one wants to do this. This isn't fun for anyone. So do your due diligence. And then I'd also recommend that you just do a Google search on your business name and see what comes up. There are lots of realtors and lots of businesses. And so finding a business name that fits your needs perfectly, that isn't taken by someone else, it can be a little bit of work, right? But you can do it. I do want to share one story. So I had a bride. Okay, so back in the day when I was running our company full time, this was probably 2017, we would have 8 to 10 weddings every Saturday, and I would have different crews of DJs out DJing. And I had 2 little tiny kids. I wasn't DJing or going to events anymore at that time. I would, work all week in the office. And so then I would just be in the fetal position all day Saturday, having immense anxiety about how all of the events were going because I want to make sure everything's perfect, right? For those of you that know me, this probably doesn't surprise you. So I get a call Monday morning, and this bride is beside herself, so upset. You guys ruined my wedding. I can't believe I paid you all this money. That was the worst experience. And I'm not recognizing her name. And I hadn't heard anything from any of my DJs that there was an issue, because usually they would message me like, hey, the group was a little weird last night. Just thought I'd let you know, or, whatever. The sound system, whatever. I hadn't had any calls. So I'm trying to get more information. Okay, tell me about your venue. Okay, tell me who your DJ was. You guys, none of this was adding up. It turns out this was not my bride. This was a bride from a company with a similar name in Spokane. And it had nothing to do with us, but it still affected us because our names were close enough that she got them confused when she did a Google search. So we got her where she needed to go. Everything was fine. She didn't leave us a 1-star review, which was fantastic since we didn't DJ her wedding. But anyway, that's just a story to help illustrate to you why it could be important to really do some due diligence on your business name. Okay, any questions or thoughts on the business name? Okay, feel free to oh, I do see hands raised. Emily, yes.
I just wanted to say that when you're looking through your researching what you want to be your name, to make sure that you look not only under real estate, but realty, because it can get really sticky when you're talking, like mine is Heart of Idaho Real Estate. And then I have actually gone in and worked on getting both of them trademarked and filed with the Secretary of State. So someone can't even come close to what I want mine to be. So just a thought there.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. That's true. There is definitely some overlap with realty and realtor. Nivanya, you may have had your hand raised. Are you good?
I'm good. Thank you. Sorry, I apologize. I forgot you lower from the last time.
Oh, that's okay.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay, let's go on and talk about logos and symbols. Okay, so a logo is a graphic visual representation of your business. For realtors, we see a lot of keys and a lot of houses and a lot of mountains as part of that design. More modern day logo design is really heavy on your name or your business name and a little lighter on the graphic elements, like the house key options. But it is typically your full logo has your full business name in it. So let me scroll back. I realize I need to have a logo better. Okay, so Silver Creek Realty Group, this is the full logo of the company. This little S that you see on the side, that is the symbol. So I can basically like cut off the logo with this. And have just that one little graphic element, no words, but that is the match. So, you know, if there's a company like Delta or, you know, we're going to recognize that symbol. And actually, we're going to play a game in a second. You can recognize that brand without the words. Is that going to be the case for most real estate agents? Probably not. We're not running these like huge, large, you know, corporations, but having the logo and the symbol still means that you can carry continuity of your brand throughout all of your messaging and all of your marketing materials. You know, even if it's just the symbol that you're using. So your logo should represent the preferences of your target audience and reflect the real estate industry. I mean, if you're, you know, a real estate, but your symbol is a car, that might be confusing, right, for people. So we want to try to keep it aligned. That doesn't mean you have to use a house or a key, but keep a design that makes sense. Don't make it a hot dog. Unless that is part of your business name and it's worked into your branding somehow. All right, and then consider a design that is simple, timeless, memorable, visually appealing, and versatile. So there are a number of places that you can get logos created. Your brokerage may have a resource for that. You can hire a graphic designer. There's also sites online. I think one of them is Fiverr, another is Creative Marketplace, or even Canva. The Canva, you can design logos in there, and the others, I think you can hire people to make logos for you pretty affordable. So just some resources and ideas there. Okay, so let's play a game. We're gonna name this business. Okay, you guys are gonna do great. So you guys can unmute and then just shout these out. I think it'll be easiest. Okay, who are we?
Facebook.
Facebook,
Pretty easy.
TikTok,
TikTok.
Twitter.
Twitter,
Yes.
Twitter.
Formerly Twitter, as I have heard.
John Deere.
Yeah, one of you said John Deere was your company. So that's perfect. Okay.
Shell,
Pepsi.
Pepsi,
MasterCard.
Audi.
Are there raised eyebrows? Yes, this is Audi. Sometimes it looks a little sometimes like the Olympics logo. So sometimes I'll get both.
Albertsons.
Monster. I had one class. The only agent who got this one was like a 27-year-old dude. And I was like, yeah, that tracks. That's the right brand.
Delta,
Delta,
Delta.
Micron.
Micron.
So this speaks to the success of these companies who have adequately branded, and we don't need any words. All we need is their symbol, and we know exactly who they are. Oh, there's one more, maybe two more.
Target,
You guys
Target.
know that one.
Target,
Oh, and then one more. Yep.
Adidas.
Adidas.
Yep. That's right. So I always find that interesting, right? Because it's like second nature, like, oh, Pepsi, obviously, MasterCard, duh, like Facebook, like, but that is all work that was done, you know, however many years ago before MasterCard was a thing. These two circles overlapping like this would just be a Venn diagram, right? It would not represent a company at all. So they've all done a really great job with their marketing. Okay, we are at a place. Would you guys like to take a 10-minute break, or do you want to push through?
Push through.
Yep, I'm good for going.
Okay. Are y'all good for that? Oh, I'm seeing thumbs up. Okay, well, we'll keep going. All right, your typeface. So your typeface is your font, and I recommend two fonts to keep it simple for you. So one of the most important reasons to have a brand planned out, in my opinion, is because it makes your life easier. How many of you have gone in to make a social media post in Canva and you've played around with 16 different fonts, 5 color combinations, 3 different layouts, and finally after an hour you closed your laptop and you were done? You like almost like killed your laptop. I know this happens because I talk to you guys, and it's frustrating because we're not graphic designers like that. Like if we were all expert graphic designers, we wouldn't be in real estate. We would be doing graphic design, right?
Right.
So having your brand planned out means you have less decisions to make in the long run, because you don't have to decide, am I using yellow and black today, or am I using blue and gray? No, like you already know. And so when it comes to your font, I recommend that you choose 2 fonts. One that is a print font, either a serif or a sans serif. Serif are those fonts that have the little line on the end of each edge of the letter. Sans serif, the font that I'm using here, is a sans serif. So have one of those that's, you know, print based, and one that is a script that you can use as a secondary font. This gives you some variety, and it also just creates consistency in your brand. So Canva is a phenomenal tool for playing with fonts, because you could just open a blank screen and you can just go to their fonts and you can start piecing things together. And you can also go to ChatGPT. I laugh because I know a few of you that have been in every class of mine lately, and I talk about chat every single time. You can ask ChatGPT for some recommendations on fonts that would go well together and take some of the guesswork out. I recommend that you choose fonts that are readily available. So you don't want an obscure font that you can't find, like on Google Drive or like Google Docs or Canva. Canva is like the, you know, one of the lead design resources for agents and everybody right now. And so they've got a huge gallery of fonts, which is awesome. But you don't want to make it really difficult to find, because then you're just going to have friction points when you're marketing and doing your branding. And we don't want friction points for you. We want it to be easy. So any questions about font? Okay. So let's look at some samples of how some different fonts work together. These are samples straight out of Canva that they already have matched together. But what I want to think about here is also how this speaks to your target market. For example, we are not talking about age or anything like that, fair housing related, right? We're talking about people who may be downsizing into assisted care. what kind of fonts might we want to make it easier, accessible for people to read?
Large, plain, clear, nothing fancy.
Right, right. So we want to think about, like, does this work for my target market? Okay, so here's an example. So I've got Glacial Indifference as the primary script font, and I've got Moontime as the primary print font, and Moontime as the secondary script font. Okay, what do you guys think about this? Criticism that I've received on Moontime is that it's difficult to read. And someone brought up in one class, I thought this was a really good point. I don't know when most schools stopped teaching cursive, but certain generations might not know how to read cursive because they didn't learn it in school. Some of us did, right? Okay, here's another one, McCainley and Inter. So you can see in both of these examples how you can use this print font, and that can be your like headline, and then you can use the secondary script font in little places on a flyer or on a social media post. It might not be the primary font that's doing all of the talking, but it adds a nice accent. Okay, what do you guys think of this one? Okay, here's Hammers and Playfair Display. This one's interesting because these are technically two print fonts, but Playfair Display, when you italicize it, it can look a little scriptish. And so you could use either as a primary. But what's great about this is that if you go in to design something, or if you hire someone to design something for you, you don't have to mess around with this, right? You're like, these are my fonts. And then however you decide to put them together on the marketing piece, great. All right, we've got Roxborough and Montserrat. This one has also a secondary print font, Sortsville Goudy. So you've got, some different things to work with here in your designs. And then this one, we don't know what this word says. I think it says Jonathan. I've looked at it a lot. But Montserrat and Jonathan. So Moontime is definitely better than Jonathan when it comes to the ability to read it easily. Keep in mind that when you're making these decisions about your branding, it isn't about what you like or what you want. It's about what's going to convey to your client, your target market, the message that you're trying to convey. So there's no right or wrong question here. If you had these 5 options, which one would you choose for an investor client?
Hammers.
Hammers. Why?
It's bold and clear.
Love it. Okay, what would you choose for a first-time home buyer?
I like the Moontime.
Moontime. I like Moontime too. Okay, what would you choose for that example of someone, needing to downsize? Maybe it's an estate situation, moving into assisted care.
Hammers, because it's clear.
Hammers too, yeah. It's really, really clear and easy to read.
Or the Roxborough.
Yeah, I like Roxborough too. Again, no right or wrong, but it's interesting as you start asking yourself these questions, right? Like, yeah, which one would, be a good match for what I'm doing? Okay, any thoughts or questions about font before we move on? Okay, let's talk about colors. Okay, so in my experience, this is the place that agents get most frustrated. Colors are really important. You want to create consistency and continuity. And I think one of the primary ways that you do that is with color. From a client perspective, they're going to notice colors a lot more than they're going to notice the font. And so really choosing a color, a set of colors that you can use in all of your marketing and branding is if you're going to choose one thing, like from this whole class, I would say it's to choose colors, because that's just going to keep you, it looks more consistent, even if you're changing fonts or if your logo changed. Okay, so I recommend choosing a palette of 3 to 5 compatible colors. A lot of times one of those is some kind of white and some kind of black or charcoal maybe. So this is an example. This is all based on the Silver Creek brand. That's what I work within. We also have a white and a charcoal, but then I've got a gray and 3 variations of blue. And so depending on the design, or if I need multiple layers or colors in a design, I've got some options to work with. And you can tell right away from looking at these that they blend well, right? They mesh well together. There's a lot of science that you can look up on online about different colors and different emotions that are evoked. In fact, should we play? Let's do chat. So, okay, so if I have I am working, hopefully you guys have, most of you have worked within ChatGPT before. If you haven't, definitely recommend. You can have a free account. That's all I work within. I'm in it all day. And it's an AI assistant. So I'm going to ask it, I'm working on a brand for my real estate business. I'm trying to evoke emotions of trust and experience and professionalism. What colors should I consider? So we can look here. For a real estate brand that evokes trust, experience, and professionalism, color choice is crucial. Here are some strong options. Navy blue, meaning trust, stability, professionalism with a Y. Deep charcoal or gray, warm taupe or grayish. That's a new color for me. Accent or supporting colors, soft white or cream, gold or bronze, muted sage or olive green. Color combinations that work. Navy plus warm gray plus white. Charcoal plus cream plus gold. Navy plus taupe plus sage. Gray plus white plus bronze. Would you like help visualizing a few palettes or seeing how these might look? Yes, these. We're going to see what it comes up with. It'll take a minute to load because it's a graphic, but I'll pop back to this and we can see what it comes up with. This is so helpful because, again, like, we're not graphic designers, and we can overthink this a lot, and we don't necessarily need to. And again, if you choose something, like, you can always change it in the future if you end up not liking it. Okay, we'll come back to this in a minute. Okay, let's look at some color combinations. And let's talk about kind of some of the emotions that these color combinations would evoke for you. Okay, so let's start with the blue one. So that's similar to what ChatGPT said, right? Like navy and gray. So what kind of emotions or thoughts do you have when you look at the gray or the blue and gray palette?
I feel like blue is supposed to be like calming.
Sorry, Blair, can you speak up?
I feel like blue is supposed to be like calming.
For some reason, I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Oh no.
While Blair's working on that, do you guys have any other thoughts that come up? I mean, we did read from ChatGPT, like blue is like, a color of trust and, that professionalism feel.
They're all warm colors.
Warm. Yeah,
I'd say it's just they're safe. They're safe colors.
safe. Yeah, I think that's probably true. Okay, let's look at more a gray-black palette. What do you feel like this communicates?
Professional.
It says very fact driven to me.
Fact-driven, professional. Yep, definitely.
Neutral, being neutral, neutralism.
Right.
Boring.
Boring, someone says. Okay, let's look at the next one. Okay, we've got a green palette.
Maybe for houses in the woods.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I mean, if that's your target market, right? Like you work with a lot of, vacation homes or yeah, mountain properties. Yeah,
Fresh. Well,
fresh. Yep, love that.
Calm.
Perfect. Okay, next one. To me, this feels more like bright and summery, like fun, even.
attention grabbing.
Yeah,
Edgy.
yeah. Yeah, that orange especially, right? That'll like compared to like the all black and gray. And again, depending on your target market, like one might be perfect and one, the black and white could be exactly what you're looking for versus a different target market. This could work a whole lot better. Okay, one more. Thoughts on this one?
Don't shoot me, but it just seems foofy and more feminine.
Yeah, I have no preference or opinion on any of these. They're just examples. So
Bad.
no judgment. What'd you say?
Bad. It's not good color combination.
Don't
At
like
all.
it. Don't like it.
No.
You know,
think it'd be
Kristin,
very-
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, I think it'd be very easy to mess up putting them arranged on a page or document.
Yeah, it definitely could be. Like it would be really hard to find the right match with these.
Right. Which one's dominant, which one's not, which is accent.
Yep. Yeah, they're all kind of the same tone, if you will. Rodney, we're gonna say something.
Well, I was going to say that when we got in the business, we literally drove around Boise, looked at signs, then we investigated successful brokerages and teams, and we live on the east side, and so there was a couple of very successful teams and brokerages connected to the east side, and so literally we got a business card from each of those, talked about it, and then modeled ours after one that we thought was the most successful on the east side, which in our full-time gigs we call plagiarism, but in the business world it's called modeling, I guess. I don't know.
Sharing.
So, yeah, that's what we did, and the same company, same team, still using the same colors, signs, logos, fonts, and such. So I guess we took the lazy way out.
Well, and I don't know that it's necessarily taking the lazy way out, but what you said, right? Like you're looking for patterns that work. And there's only so many combinations of all the things, right? Like, so you can always put your own personal touch on whatever you're working on creating. So thanks, Rodney. All right, well, let's see if ChatGPT gave us something. We'll just see. I've never actually done this with them. Oh, see, there we go. There's an example from ChatGPT on the professional building trust colors. So you've got some ideas. There's also some websites where you can have more insight on creating a color palette. Oh, I see, Melissa, you're holding something up, but it's a little
Oh,
blurry.
I'm sorry. I was trying to see if it would show up or not. I actually just
Oh,
did.
yeah, a little
I
bit.
did the same thing, but I think mine just popped up. I'm gonna have to unblur my background to,
Oh, yeah, very similar. Yes, the colors.
yeah,
Yes,
McConnell Realty. Yeah, interesting.
that's awesome.
Fun.
Oh, I'm gonna go through all these again. Okay. All right, well, let's move on now to your visual style. Okay, so what's a visual style? This is kind of a mood board of photos that represent the style of your brand. And these also tell a story. Okay, so when you look at these 6 photos, what words come to mind? What story is being told by these 6 pictures?
Communication.
Okay, communication, great.
Collaboration.
Collaboration. Other thoughts?
Cleanliness.
Cleanliness, yes, clean, yep. Numbers in the chat, Blair, thank you.
Professionalism.
Professionalism,
Support.
support. So based on all of those words, oh, friendly, Melissa says, you're probably not surprised that this is the visual style that I use for everything I do for Silver Creek, right? Like this is the visual style. Like if you saw posts or things that we share, a lot of it looks like this. And those words are exactly what we're trying to communicate. And it gives me something to follow, right? I think a lot of social media posts, because I think that's, a lot of what agents are doing, particularly in Canva. If you're not using a photo from, a listing or like an actual photo that you took and you're needing like stock photography, you want a style that matches. You want people to be able to go back and say, oh yeah, this all makes sense. The other thing is this all makes sense with my colors. It flows very well with my colors. If I had pictures in here that had like a deep, rich wood or, a bright pink something, that is not going to match that palette of blues and that gray that I had shown you before, where this is very representative of that. So it's also a good exercise to go into Canva and just start pulling pictures that feel like your brand, like what you were trying to communicate. And you can search words like what you guys said, communication, collaboration, trust, or whatever those words are for your brand. Okay, next, oh, that was a sample page. Okay, you, my friends, are part of your visual style. Real estate is special because you are selling yourselves and you in so many ways are your business. So I always recommend that you have a headshot that represents your brand and that the way you present yourself also represents your brand. All of those things you're trying to communicate to your client, you're going to represent that in yourself as well. And that can vary just as much as your colors and your fonts and all of that. But definitely consider some, if you haven't done headshots in the last maybe 2 or 3 years, definitely recommend doing an update and really, positioning yourself in your brand. All right, a tagline or a slogan. So this is just a short statement, like a little elevator pitch statement that reflects your business, your value proposition, and it's creating that emotional connection. I mean, you don't have to have a tagline. Not every agent does, but if you do, here are some best practices. So you can ask, what is the central purpose of your business? Again, we're like reflecting back to our target market. What are we doing here? We're, finding strong investments for our client, whatever it is. Highlight your unique value proposition. What emotional appeal are you making to your clients? Keep it short and memorable. Use strong, vivid language. So let's look at some samples. And if you're working on a tagline and you get stuck, you can always go to ChatGPT for that. Hey, chat, I'm working on my tagline. This is my business. This is what I'm trying to communicate. What do you got for me? These are straight from ChatGPT, so did that very exercise. Tagline samples: your dream, our priority. Guiding you home every step. Opening doors to new beginnings. Your trusted partner in real estate. Where your home journey begins. Experience excellence in every move. Helping you buy, sell, and succeed. Building futures one home at a time. Oh, back. Okay. So let's go back to, what would you choose for? Okay, so which of these would you choose for a first-time home buyer?
Maybe 1 or 2.
Your dream home, our priority, guiding you home every step. Love it. What would you choose for an investor client?
Trusted partner in real estate.
Mm-hmm. Love it. What would you choose for someone who's upgrading?
Helping you buy, sell, and succeed.
Love that. Yeah.
On both ends of that.
I was like building futures one home at a time. So again, every aspect of your brand that you work on can come back to your target audience in some way. So you're telling a story and making an emotional connection that is really designed for your target market. Okay, and then the next one is your voice or tone. So this is your communication style. This is the personality that you're, projecting through your brand and through how you're writing your listing descriptions in your social media posts, or how you're connecting with your potential clients. So that could be you're really fun, professional, comedic, conversational, formal, casual. And the question to ask here is, going back to that target market exercise, what communication style does your target market need from you? Right? And who are you building yourself to be as a realtor? I taught this class and I had a mother-daughter team, and they just kept talking about how they want to make every transaction so fun for their clients. They're fun-loving, they're happy and bubbly, and so their voice or tone was going to fall more in this fun area. The way that they were framing things or sharing things was going to have like a little fun aspect to it, going to be more upbeat. Another great way to dial this in is also in ChatGPT. Hey, I'm working on my voice or my tone for my business, and I work with investor clients, and I need to really be shown as professional and knowledgeable and very fact driven, for example. Write me an example of a listing description in a social media post that would fall within that tone. So then ChatGPT can give that to you, and you can say, oh, okay, I see how I can speak like that in future future messaging. But you could do that with any target market and any style. Any questions or thoughts on this? And you're going to notice it's all going to match, right? Like when we were here with the visual style, and we talked about professional and friendly and collaborative, those words are keywords for you, for your voice and tone, right? So our messaging is going to be that, supportive and collaborative and professional. It all matches all through the whole brand. Go through all my clicks here. Okay. In your handout, there are some sample branding items that you can review and critique based on what we've talked about today. Like based on looking at those, what would you change in those? And that is something that I give for you guys that you can take a look at after the class. It's kind of a little later exercise. Okay, let's talk next about your collateral. So these are the materials that you use in your marketing that are going to represent your brand, your visual identity, and your messaging. This could be digital items, or it could be items that you print, like a flyer or a postcard. So let's talk through both aspects. So first is your print collateral. So your business cards, your signs, your flyers, your presentations, and any mailers that you do. So any of these items, you are going to use your branding choices through all of these. So the colors that you've chosen, the fonts, your logo or symbol. If you're using a tagline, you're going to incorporate that into these any way that you can. we want to be able to lay all of these things out on the table and say, yep, these all go together. Like you can tell they're all part of the same group of materials. And we have our digital collateral. So that would be like your website, your social media, your email, videos that you make, and your voicemail. We're going to talk through some of these items in more detail. So let's start with websites. So there are a few different ways that you can build a website for your business. A lot of times through your brokerage, there's a website service or like a website CRM service that you can opt into. You're often going to get this at a lower cost than if you went out and got it on your own. This is typically a partnership with a third-party company. Some, but not many, brokerages have developed their own CRM or website platform that they use for their agents. Most are partnered with an outside company like Lone Wolf or Bold Trail or Follow Up Boss or something like that. These typically will integrate with MLS so that when people go on to the website, they can search for property. And depending on your brokerage, those will likely be integrated with any MLSs that your broker, your designated broker belongs to. So that could be just one MLS in your local practice area, or it could be more depending on your broker in your brokerage. Some of these sites will allow for customization so that you can make it match your brand. Some won't have a lot of options for that. It just depends a lot on the service that's being used. And so I would definitely recommend that you chat with your brokerage about, how much you can customize, the colors or the fonts or things to match your brand. And, it may not be perfect, right? Like you may say, you know what, this is good enough for me. What I'm paying for this fits into my budget. And I understand I'm not going to be able to change the font from Arial to Montserrat, and that's fine because most people aren't going to really be criticizing your website based on that one font, right? But it would be great if you could do some color customization maybe, or upload your logo. All right, the next option for websites is you can source your own website service. That's maybe a CRM or a website combo program. If you go out and get these on your own, they can be quite costly. You do definitely need to do your due diligence and do some research to make sure that you're, having your needs met and it's within a budget that is going to work for you. And then understand and ask about property search and the IDX MLS integration so that people can search for property. Most of the time, if you source this on your own, you'll only be able to integrate the MLS that you belong to. So if you belong to just one, that's all you'll be able to integrate into your site. If you belong to multiple, then you could likely integrate those. So that's good to check. And then the other option is to build your own website. You'll have full customization available here. It can be quite costly if you're going to hire a web designer, or some of you may want to just build your own through a templated site like Weebly or Wix. You're going to need to do your ongoing maintenance to keep things, updated. And then again, same with the MLS integration. You'll only be able to connect to the MLS that you belong to. What I have seen some agents do is they will build their own website so they can have it fully customized, like the About Me section and, different, like a blog or whatever it might be. And then anywhere where it says search for property, they will have that linked to their brokerage site for property search. So that's an option too. Any questions about your website? Okay, lots of good options there. All right, next is your email. So yes, your email is part of your brand and you want to have that match your branding as much as you can. The first question to ask is your email account provided by your brokerage or a team? If you're working on a team or at some brokerages, they'll require you to work under their corporate brand. And so you might not have as much autonomy to develop your own brand. Just a quick tip here, like lessons learned. If you are working with a brokerage or a team provided email, I highly recommend that you set up a forward on your emails so that a copy of those emails all go to your personal email account in case you ever leave the team or the brokerage and don't have access to your email account anymore. I've never seen more tears from real estate agents than in this situation. So it's very painful to lose your email account. All right, you can use, I'm just gonna click all of these. You can use a generic service for your email. So Idaho's Best Realtor at gmail.com. And you can still make that fit your brand. Like if you're using a business name or Kristin the Realtor at gmail.com or, something like that, you can still make that fit. There's typically not a cost for some of these generic services, depending on which one you choose. And then another option is you can create a custom domain. So you could, if your business name is Idaho's Best Realtor, as an example, you buy that domain, idahosbestrealtor.com. There are services like Google has one where you can create custom emails like Kristin at idahosbestrealtor.com. So you can really dial in your branding for your email based on what you've created. Within this, recommend that you have a branded email signature. There's a million templates for those in Canva. You can also just go into the back end of your email and do something simple within that framework. And yeah, incorporate like your tagline if you decided to use one, your business name, any of those branding items that you can include here is great. And then we always encourage you to stay organized in your email. We know it is a lot when you're a realtor and you get 700 emails a day from everyone. So any questions about email? Okay, let's talk about voicemail. This is also part of your brand because this is an opportunity for you to have, to say, hey, this is Kristin Cole, realtor with Silver Creek Realty Group, or your business name and include your brokerage. Include that realtor word and your brokerage because that phrase, like you're not a secret agent, right? Like you want every chance that you have to say, oh yeah, I'm a realtor. Oh, by the way, I'm a realtor. Oh, did you know I'm a realtor? Right? Without being pushy. This is one way you can do that. While it's not branding related, I wanted to mention just a couple of things about voicemail that I seem to run into with agents quite a bit. The first is that I always recommend that you do have the recording, like, on your voicemail, like just say, like the recording could say like, you have reached, and then you just say your name and then it beeps. Like record a whole message. I think it shows that you're there, right? Makes a more personal connection. Keep your voicemail box cleaned up. Delete old voicemails so that your voicemail isn't full. Also, if you on your cell phone, if your data, like if you've used all of your data storage on your cell phone, that can actually connect back to your email or to your voicemail, and your voicemail box can say it's full because there's no more room on your phone to store a voicemail message. I've had that happen with a few agents. They're like, I don't have any voicemails in there. Why is my voicemail saying it's full? It's because they have 30,000 photos being saved on their phone and there's no data storage available. So that's a little tip. And then you can always use a program that transcripts your voicemail into email if you hate voicemails as much as I do, which is one of the best things I've ever done. So, okay, any questions about voicemail? All right. A little bit about social media. Definitely invite you guys to take some of my social media classes. Your brand carries directly into social media. So, header images that you make for your Facebook page or your, your profile information on Instagram or Facebook. Best practice here, clarity. Make it really clear who you are and what you do and how to get a hold of you. And there are so many times when I see business pages where it's like a realtor page, but there's no phone number and no email address. Like there's no way for that person to get to you, right? So your page is doing you a disservice in that way. So make it clear, make it consistent. Keep your branding and your profiles across all of your platforms the same, so that if someone's on Instagram and they go to your page, it looks the same, same like profile picture, same, information in the about section, consistent across your platforms. And then have some constancy with your social media, meaning you gotta go there and use it. This may be an unpopular opinion to social media experts, but even if you're posting once a month, it tells people that you're still in business, because people will go to your social media profiles. They might not necessarily find you on social media, but they're going to go there and check you out on social media and see what you're posting. And if you have reviews or things like that. And if you go to a page and they haven't posted in 6 months or 12 months, you start to wonder if they're still in business. But if they've posted in the last 1, 2, or 3 months, you're like, okay, well, they post somewhat frequently, so they must still be around. So of course, I think that more than once a month is probably better, but we'll save that conversation for another class. Any questions?
Kristin,
Yes.
what's your recommendation on controlling your brand through negative reviews and having prior approval before you allow it to be posted?
Yeah, it's, it can be really difficult to manage reviews, depending on where you're collecting reviews. On your Facebook business page, you don't have to have reviews as an option, so you can just turn that off. If you have like a Google business page, you don't really have any control. And the most control that you have is if you get a negative review, it's based on your reply, right? When we've had a negative review, we try to reply in a very apologetic or supportive way. Hey, we'd love to connect with you personally and resolve this. We're so sorry for any mistakes that were made, or, whatever it might be. But it can be difficult. Like if you've got places that are open up for reviews, there's not often a way to like approve them before they're posted.
Well, like the example that you gave, someone who is confused at who you were as an
Yeah.
event, right? They could give you a negative review and it isn't even you.
Exactly. That is exactly true. And so my response would have to reflect that, right? In that case, I would have responded, Amy, I'm so sorry to hear that you had this experience. As we chatted about on the phone, it sounds like this was a company with a similar name in another state. Again, we appreciate you reaching out and we wish you the best, right? Like that's about as far as I can go, unless I'm going to get on the phone and ask them to take it down, which sometimes goes well and sometimes it doesn't. So yeah, it can be tough. Other thoughts or questions? Okay, wrap up our last couple slides. I just have a couple of examples here of a brand and what that can look like when it's all brought together. So these are examples from Etsy. You can actually go onto Etsy and buy a pre-made brand that opens in Canva, so you can make edits to it. So if you're like, yeah, I want a brand, no, I don't want to do it. Here's an example, so you can see this brand may speak to a very specific target market, like in my opinion. Like I know I keep on using my investor versus first-time homebuyer. This probably feels a little more first-time homebuyer to me than investor. But you can see how it all works, right? Like her colors are consistent, her fonts are consistent. She does that secondary, and I apologize, it's a little blurry on this screen. She has her primary script print font and then her secondary script font, and you can see how that carries through the different aspects of her branding. And it just looks like it's supposed to be this way, right? It's not like, why is that one yellow, right? Like it doesn't, it's very calming because it all is connected. And then here's another example. This is a little bit more of a bold style, a little more, the fonts are a little more bold and the colors are a little more bold as well. So yeah, and this is kind of what we're looking for as you guys put your brand together and you carry that through your business cards and your flyers and your website, and it all just flows and matches. Okay, I have a page in the handout. I'm not going to go through the details of how to do this, but if you are working on a business name and you're wondering how to formalize that with the state of Idaho, there is a step-by-step in your handout of how to do that and where to go. Disclaimer that you always should get in touch with your attorney and your CPA if you're working on business entities to make sure you're being set up properly for your taxation and your needs. All right, and then wrapping up, we're just going to talk about a couple of compliance items. When it comes to marketing and branding, how do you stay out of trouble? Everyone wants that. So first is you need to use your full brokerage name in all of your marketing and advertising. This is a requirement of the state of Idaho. Online, your brokerage name needs to be on every page of your website, and it needs to be within one click on social media. So if you have a social media post and it's talking about real estate, someone should be able to click one time and find your brokerage on that page. I always recommend that you just include your brokerage name on all of your social media posts that are real estate related. Just make sure you've got yourself covered. Your license, your legal name as it's licensed with the state of Idaho is required on all of your marketing as well. And if you have a name, Steve, I'm going to make an assumption here, but if your name is Steven and you want to market under Steve, you want Steve on your business cards or on your social media, that nickname has to be registered with the Department of Licensing. Otherwise, you're out of compliance. Otherwise, you just need to be using your full name in your marketing. Always maintain your client confidentiality even after the transaction is closed. So we know when it comes to marketing, don't post about your clients or post a photo of them, for example, at closing without their permission. Permission in writing is always preferred. So even if it's a text message, you can go back to that. Fair housing. So always follow fair housing laws. Be aware of any additional laws in your local area. For example, I think that fair housing is there's some additional items in the Boise City Code. So be aware of that. And then remember that the Code of Ethics always holds us to a higher standard than what the law is saying. Including realtor in your messaging. The difference between a realtor and a real estate agent is membership in NAR. And what that ultimately means is the Code of Ethics. So when you're using the realtor name, it is communicating that you're being held to not just the law, but a Code of Ethics as well. And then there's that handout in the packet of how to use that trademark. All right, be careful with your content. You're a realtor, which means that you have no anonymity anymore. So no matter what you're sharing online, it could be public. And so my advice is to always stay content neutral in any online forums or anything like that. Be honest and truthful. Anything you're sharing about a home or the industry and neighborhood, make sure it's verified, true information. There's been a lot of generalizations in the news or on social media. I know you guys know that. You see those things. So make sure you're verifying information before you share it. And then always get permission to promote listings or use photos that aren't yours. In fact, Intermountain MLS just sent an email about this today. I saw that pop into my inbox about copyright on listing photos. So make sure that if you know you represented a buyer and you wanted to use photos from that listing, you need to have permission to do that from that listing agent. All right. Any questions or things that you want me to circle back on?
I'm sure everybody wants to go home or leave, but I wanted to ask,
Yeah.
there's a lot of money that you can spend on developing a logo, the brand, prints, mailers, whatever. Given your experience, do you have any recommendation on how much somebody should benchmark, how much they spend on marketing?
That is a good question. It's always going to be time or money, right? You're either going to take the time and do it yourself, or you're going to spend the money and have someone else do it for you. The costs can vary so much. The first thing I would say is to access your brokerage resources and leverage those for any of those design, items that you can. Hiring out, if you were going to hire something out, the primary thing that would be is a logo. And I think that can run, I don't know if any of you have done that recently, but it can run 100 to 500 even sometimes. I tend to use my time instead of my money. That's just kind of my personal default, but I also enjoy, I would be thrilled to go into Canva and work on a logo. That would be fun for me. So But yeah, check those sites like Fiverr, Creative Marketplace. Canva has some logo designs that are already kind of started that you can customize and then leverage your brokerage resources. Um, Printing business cards shouldn't hopefully be more than $100 for you. Your website investment is going to vary based on which option you choose to go with, depending on your needs. And any of you that are on this call, whether you're a Silver Creek agent or not, I'd be more than happy to have a call with you and just talk through your personal situation and what you're working on and kind of what your next goal is in your marketing and branding. And I don't know, be a sounding board for you. So feel free. My number's on the slide there. You can call me. It's my cell. I don't know, Steve, if that's a lot of help or if that's just, I don't know. It depends.
Well, I mean, I just know that there's a lot of agents that don't do a lot of business, right? So you could spend a
Yeah,
lot of money
yeah,
and
you could.
it's
And
negative cash flow, right? So you want to make sure that it's positive. I just didn't know if you had like a benchmark if somebody's doing 5% of the revenue or 3 or whatever.
I really don't because it just varies so much based on agent, that agent's strengths, that agent's needs for their business plan. So I don't have like a set amount. I mean, our new agents that we train, we want to help launch them as best we can for as little as possible because we do get that, right? Like it's costly to maintain a real estate license and to get started in business. So yeah. Any other thoughts or questions?
Do you have any courses on Canva coming?
I do not teach a course on Canva directly. We offer a class, and any of the Silver Creek classes, any agent from any brokerage is always welcome to attend. They're open and free for everybody. And we do a Canva class just about every quarter. I will say we have a CE class coming up. Tammy Sims, if you guys know her, she's a local agent in the Boise area. It's an in-person class, but it's mastering marketing through tech tools. She does have a small cost for this class, but it's a 4-hour class and it reviews Canva and AI, ChatGPT, and some other tools and things that you can use. So that's a really good one. I think it's $35 and it's well worth it. She's brilliant. Anything else? All right. Well, I sure appreciate you guys joining us today. Hopefully you got some good takeaways. Reach out to me with any questions.